Hi Mark, Sander here. This is basically an introduction to the 3 do files I send you. Education new, name cleaning new, and education cleaning. So I start with education new, which is the first file you should run. And basically what you have to achieve here is that we get the same summary statistics. So the file pretty much looks like our previous files. I added one thing which is called set trace off. It's just something, I sometimes turn it on for troubleshooting, and it's basically a better way of debugging files, but don't bother about that. That's a minor change which doesn't really matter. So in the beginning I define all the macros. If you want to run the file with the macros as I do, you basically just have to change this path to the path where you have all your files saved. So I set up at the macros as always, and then I merge the files folder by folder as we previously did. The drop conditions as well as the dropping of exact duplicate variables changes a bit over time because the variables change over time. So that's why there's these different lists here. So this is all pretty much standard. I hope you get the same results. This is basically the first thing you could write me back if you get the same stuff here. If not, we have to look together. So that's the first file. In the end, you get some output file. I just saved it under the name educa. So you'll get that file, and it's basically what you load in then and what we do the cleaning on. For the cleaning, you need I work with 2 files. The main file is the file I sent you under the name education cleaning here. So what I do in education cleaning is I load this, I clear everything, I load this file, educa, which I just created with the previous do file, and then I go through the data one by one, or basically village by village, in order to look for duplicates, for time series that don't match up correctly, and then I reorder things by hand. So in order to do that, let me get the data over here. First I sort the data, and then I order it, and I order it in a way that I can easily identify whether the time series makes sense. Now the variables I focus on are the enrollment variables, which are enrolled boys, enrolled girls, and then later on the data gets restructured, and these enrolled variables are caught in 4 categories, which are called VS1 boys, VS1 girls, other boys, and other girls. Let me quickly show you where that difference comes from. So in general, you have a village name here. Let's look at Suri, right? We have a village name, Suri. Then we have the school type, and it's village school or other school. But then later on they changed the coding, and they didn't put village school or other school anymore. Instead they left the school type blank and started with these new variables, which is, oh, I already pulled them over exactly because I ordered it. So which are VS1 boys, VS1 girls, other boys, and other girls. Now this is the same as the enrollment variables before, but this allows basically for Suri to have 1 observation per year months, and then have several variables for the different school types instead of having several variables per year months. So in the end, I will put everything in this format. At first I did it, but I encountered some problems with it, so I went back to looking at the data in this form where there's still several observations per year months. Basically because sometimes there's weird breaks here, and I wasn't sure whether I was throwing everything together correctly, and also to get better correction mechanisms for duplicates or variables that shouldn't be there. So currently I'm looking at the data in this form. So the other thing I'm dealing with is that several village names are basically, they refer to the same village, but they're differently named. So the last file we developed on that is this name cleaning new file. Most of the things we do in here are correct. However, I didn't run the file in the beginning and then started looking at things, because sometimes with the data I get the feel that some of the villages we group together should maybe not be grouped together, and some of the village names we don't group together in this file yet should be grouped together. All of these things I wrote out exactly in the comments. So what I do is I go to the data and I start from the very bottom and I go through village by village through the data, and I look at these 8 variables here, and I try to look whether time series match up or not. In many cases I'm not sure, and I wrote you a question mark there, and these are cases which we have to decide together. And yeah, I start from the bottom and start going up, which is basically, so if I drop a variable, it doesn't change the dropping afterwards. The observation number of the variables that are dropped later on. There's one more thing I wanted to explain. It's about non-formal schools. So basically, it seems to me as if in the beginning they started making the difference between non-formal schools and village schools, and later on they just stuffed all the non-formal schools into this category other schools. So in most cases, non-formal schools actually match up pretty well with the time series we see for other schools. However, I'm not 100% sure that this is always the case, so I didn't just generically rename non-formal always into other. In some cases, it's a bit doubtful whether I should do it or not, and some of them I do it anyways. But have a look at that, and basically let you know that in some cases where it's a bit doubtful, and I do it because I think it might fit up. In cases where it really doesn't fit up, I don't do it. But in cases where I think it might fit up and I rename it, the logic is basically that almost always non-formal seems to be a previous way of calling other schools. So yeah, and then you go through education cleaning, and I basically go village by village. Then I look in the name cleaning again. I clean up a village. Then I always order the data again, so it's nicely sorted with this sort thing. Then I list the duplicates again. Then I move on in the data. I do not only look for the duplicates, but I also look for weird observations where there's just a lot of zeros and stuff, and I go on dropping these one by one. And this is basically the process I'm engaging in. I hope you can follow the process more or less with this data file I sent you. And I hope we get done with this as fast as possible. Okay, hear from you.